Welcome to Desma. Welcome to today's webinar. Again, we are very delighted to have a huge number of participants with us, although it's only digitally. However, we like to thank you for participating and, even more important, we look forward to going digital with you today. This means, well, we have an insight into how to make use of data created by your machines, how to digitally access your machine, and how to combine those data with your experience, with your gut feeling, with what you have learned about how to operate a Desma machine. This combination of data, given evidences, and feeling experience, on the other hand, is used and shall guide us through today's session. Also, we like to explain what Desma's answer is to a demand which says that big data needs to be transferred, processed to become smart data and thus be usable by you. However, before we are really kicking off this session, we like to commit and we like to underline that Desma still is and remains committed to fight COVID-19. This also applies for today's session. This means that all the 4 persons being present in this room have undergone a rapid test earlier today. Fortunately, and without revealing too many details, none of us has been tested positive. So from this point of view, we are happy to run this session in the format that you are going to experience in the next hours. Also, this is a beneficiary of the ongoing degree of vaccination amongst the population and also amongst the Desma crew. Nevertheless, we need interaction, and for this we need you. So, as also in the previous webinars, please make excessive use of the chat function. We have learned from the last sessions that the chat function needs to be mirrored in order to allow you understanding which questions have been asked already, and also to create maybe some very valuable follow-up questions. And thus, every question sent to the chat will be repeated, and all of you will have the chance to learn which question was asked already and which follow-up questions you might ask in order to bring us into a situation where we can really have a vivid and interactive question and answer session following later today. Diving into the topic of data and the usage of data in connection with running your Desma machine, with experiencing the Desma machine, I like to really draw up a provocative question that you might have here and there heard before, and that might have been answered here and there before in the media. So the question is a short one, but a simple one. Is data the new gold? Internally at Desma, we have, tried to answer this question for us. And this answer, it's quite easy, but it's not that easy. So our answer is yes, data is the new gold. However, we like to precise this answer a little bit by saying data is another new gold. So amongst those strengths which we have experienced and which gold stands for, data is the new and the more modern answer to this question, as data serves to add a very important proportion to what you might call gut feeling, to what you might call experience. With data, we can address several issues, and we can use data to verify whether measures taken are really beneficiary, are really successful, and shall be kept alive. So data is used to verify whether our gut feeling, whether our experience, and whether measures drawn from a data-driven analysis have been applied in a correct manner. In this sense, this also applies to the term big data. And another provocative question, whether big data is the new key driver, we like to answer by saying, well, big data basically is a broad term. Big data covers a broad amount of data, and as the term says, big data is a lot. And by saying big data, well, a decimal machine is also bringing, creating, developing a lot of data through its sensors, through the variables displayed in the visualization as well as in the machine control. So a decimal machine creates big data. But in order to learn and in order to use that big data, we need to have applications turning and converting this big data to become smart data. Because from smart data, you can start learning, you can start drawing conclusions, and you can start really improving processes and the production. So, to sum up things, we need to convert big data provided by a decimal machine to become smart data and to be useful or to become useful for you. Having said this, I like to build a bridge to what we are going to deal with today. You can see it in the background. This webinar will be about smart shop floor, and Desma's smart shop floor is exactly a first answer to converting big data, becoming smart data, and to answering an increased demand for tools exactly doing what I've said before. So this increasing demand in tools which are not only dealing with the production equipment itself, but also with the data created by this production equipment is a very important one. And Desma is about to answer this first demand by now introducing Smart Shop Floor to you. And in order to introduce Smart Shop Floor in a proper, in a profound and a professional manner to you, we need an expert. And we found an expert internally, and I'm pretty happy that I can now introduce to you our expert of today. Björn, first of all, welcome to our webinar. Thank you very much for joining the webinar.
Thank you.
Björn, well, he's working at Desma for quite some time. He is very experienced in understanding processes around shoe production. He is experienced about what is very important about production as well as prototyping. And given his professional education, he is experienced and well prepared when it comes to software developments, when it comes to software requirements, and when it comes to software functions. So the combination of what I said is, well, basically justifying that you are the expert for today. So again, thank you very much and welcome to this session.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, Björn, first of all, and before really going into the Smart Shop Floor application, before going into the details, before talking about big data from a decimal machine being converted to smart data, I like to ask a question that is a little bit off topic maybe. We've heard that big data or that data is the new gold. So I would be interested in learning whether you see this the same way, whether you have experiences and how maybe big data or smart data is having an effect on your everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I do see the same values like you explained. And for my personal life, for my private life, I have two examples for you.
Okay.
One is my smartphone. So on my smartphone, I have different applications, apps installed. And they give me a good overview, for example, for my heating control at my home.
Okay.
And I see the temperature in my different rooms, and I can react accordingly if somebody forgotten maybe to turn it a little bit down. Mm-hmm. Other example would be my tumble dryer.
Okay.
So I'm having technology to observe the energy consumption and see maybe it's time to buy a new tumble dryer because the energy consumption is too high.
Okay.
Another one would be, for example, a smart watch, observing my heartbeat, my pressure, blood pressure. If I have made a lot of steps today, enough steps for today, or do I have to do some exercise?
Okay.
So I'm using smart data or data already and I'm using this for my private life as well.
Okay, so, well, summarizing this, the answer is quite easy. Yes, big data is important for you. Big data is important for your private life, but not only big data, but also smart data. And I think that this is also something that our participants today might have the same idea, might have the same feeling about. So, well, asking you if this is a part of your everyday life, the answer is?
Absolutely yes, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Not only for me, as well for my family or for my friends as well. So I think this is for all of us coming in the future that we have to use that smart data, making our life easier, and let's say we have a lot of values inside this smart data to use.
Well, then let's take this very, very positive attitude towards smart data, towards big data, and transfer this to what we are dealing with today. Smart shop floor. I like to go through this session by, first of all, reviewing 3 different perspectives with you. The first one shall be being an operator of a decimal machine. The second one will be being maybe the head of production, the head of shift. And the third one is even a more global perspective, being the owner or the managing director of a company. So, but let's focus first on operating a decimal machine. And imagine following setup. You're really operating a decimal roundtable. Is, in this sense, smart shop floor and the data supporting your professional work life?
I believe so. Because it's when you imagine you're starting your work at the daily shift, you're starting from zero with the production, you're setting up the machine, and you press on automatic mode. So you are having a quite good overview what's going on at that moment. But during the time and during the production, you have to take care of so many different tasks, so many different side effects which can occur. And you don't really know where to look at that moment. You have to look for the quality of the production, quality of the shoes for sure. And the MDA, the machine data acquisition from the smart shop floor, gives you a perfect overview what's going on at that very moment at your production site, at your machine. So this gives you more confidence that you're on the right track, maybe that you are hitting your production targets, that you are have to meet till the end of the shift.
Okay, so basically you can say that as an operator I have the chance to see all the very important KPIs, maybe even on a screen installed next to the machine with a dashboard, what we can see here in the background. So the assortment of different widgets you can see on the screen is called a dashboard, and the widgets are the small squares with the different numbers or diagrams. But Björn, having installed such a screen next to the machine is really giving me an idea of what KPIs I'm currently facing, right?
It's really up to the position of the operator where your information is needed, or different information is needed on different positions, different production positions, for example. So on one side you probably have to know exactly what kind of alarms are occurring at that very moment. On the other side, you need to have a good overview about your total production counter, or maybe of the progress of the production. Maybe even you have to have information about the filling level of your tanks. So that's according to the needs. You can create on your own the widgets inside these dashboards, and using different dashboards with different widgets in a different manner, so that the information the machine gives to you will be available at the right spot, at the right point at the production machine.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And now thinking about your team, you're not operating the machine all on your own, really alone, but you have a team that you work with. Can I use Smart Shop Floor and the dashboards also to motivate my team to give a little level of transparency about the current output to my team in order to lift up our productivity?
Also, I think so, and because as you see that in that slide here, there's a progress chart, for example. So you see that there's a daily target or a shift target of a production of shoes which has to be hidden in that 8 hours shift. And there's a good overview at that very moment. You have 22% reached so far of that target. So then you can decide, okay, I still have 6 hours left, so I probably will meet that target. Or you don't have that time anymore, so maybe you have to adjust your cycle times. Or you can make other decisions to still reach this target. So that's one example. The other example would be if you have your constant improvements because of the observation of that variables. You can have views for, as a line graph, for example, which on the bottom is shown, which gives you a long-term observation of the behavior of your machine. So you can see maybe a constant improvement of the line graph. So that gives you also extra motivation, or could give you also extra information to improve the processes, and that's for motivation as well a good point.
That's very, very nice. So also summarizing a little bit on the floor level around the machine, smart shop floor gives the necessary information at the right time, according to the current status of the machine, according to the current status of the production. Before now shifting over to the second perspective, I'd like to also address to you, dear participants, if you have further questions regarding the operational level, please use the chat function, drop the questions via the chat. We have reserved some time later during the session to answer those questions and to give more specific insight into what you might be having a dedicated, a specified interest in. So please make use of the chat function. We look forward to having more of your questions in the course of the webinar. But now, Björn, let's shift to a second perspective. We have been on the floor level so far. Now I'd like to go one stage higher, looking or overlooking the production as being maybe the head of production in order to give you a new job title. So how is Smart Shop Floor supporting you as the head of production when it comes to A, surveying the production, and B, making sure that also targets are achieved, as well as C, improving the efficiency, and maybe also generating some contribution to a more sustainable production?
As a head of production, you certainly look for different values, not as the operator looks for. So you are interested in efficiency values for the shift or for the efficiency of the machine. So, or for the other side, what the production counter says at the end of the shift or during the shift. You're looking also for comparison of your machines. So you want to know how's the competition between 2 or 3 of my machines, how they're behaving. Is one machine always behind the other one? So you can decide the performance of the machine, of the teams during the shift. You have a good feeling actually of the production itself, and you can use these operation values then for further decisions to make, or maybe you make adjustments to your production organization so that your production flow needs to be organized probably in a different way.
So looking at the slide shown in the background, we, for example, can see that the tank level for A component is quite low, while the tank level for B component is quite high, right? So from this, I can draw a conclusion that in order to create efficiency or improve the efficiency, I need to refill the tanks in order to not run short of material.
Exactly, we have both possibilities here. On the left side, you see the value at the very moment, it's 20 or it's 80%, for example. On the right side, you see the long-term observation of the tank level. So you can have a decision that you may be emptying your tanks in 2, 3, 4, whatever hours, maybe in a shift. So it gives you a good feeling also when to prepare a new set of material tanks, for example, in advance. Just not that you have to stop the production by just not preparing the production material in advance, as an example.
Well, that is quite good when it comes to operational values. The question, however, is how can I use the software really to increase the efficiency, how to earn money. To be very honest, increasing the efficiency has two major goals. The first one is earning money. The second one is maybe contributing to a more sustainable production. But in the sense of production and productivity, this goes hand in hand. Yeah. So how can I use the software to improve the efficiency?
The machine gives us a lot of different values which are related to efficiency. And the most interesting one would be the cycle times. Mm-hmm. So we have the set cycle time, for example, what is entered into the control. We see the real cycle time, what is existing at this very moment. We see the average cycle time, for example. Mm-hmm. So all these values can be displayed, what this example shows as well.
So the different colored lines here in the background are different cycle times, right?
These are the different cycle times, for example, yes. Mm-hmm. So the top line chart gives you an idea of the cycle times. The bottom line chart gives you a good overview about the exceeded cycle times, which gives you an idea about the bottlenecks which you may have at your production. Mm-hmm. And by observing these bottlenecks, you certainly can have a good idea, or will have a good idea, where to improve your production directly at the machine. Maybe your release agent robot can be a little bit speeded up. Maybe the cleaning times could be fastened. So this gives you the exceeded cycle times. Observation here shows you the bottlenecks of the machine. Mm-hmm. And step by step you can improve then quite easily and also very fast your existing production.
Looking at the little chart below the line graphs, this is basically it's a chart, and I understood from a pre-discussion with you that this can be exported. Mm-hmm. What does export mean in this sense, and how does it look?
The idea actually is here for the exporting data out of the smart shop floor is that the different persons, head of production, maybe the general manager, or even the operator, they want to use that information which is inside the smart shop floor external, mm-hmm. Just to calculate new values, just make some presentations out of it, or some other observations, putting these values beside each to other values, for example. So that means that we can export by using this export button, mm-hmm. and exporting this to the Microsoft Excel application, so that we have an Excel spreadsheet. And from that on, we can elaborate different views as well, line graphs, bar graphs, calculations. Mm-hmm.
So while we were talking, while you were explaining how to export and what this export does mean, mm-hmm. We saw a little screen video in the background, and it was even faster than the explanation. So from this, I take it that the operation of Smart Shop Floor as a software is quite easy. It was just 3-4 clicks, and by this you created an Excel file. So I take it that is quite easy, right?
It is quite easy, and it should be self-explaining how to do it. Mm-hmm. And at least certainly you have to have some low-level knowledge about how to use a computer. Yeah. But at that stage, when you reach that stage, you will be able to do that.
Cool. One question that maybe was not answered in full details so far. How is Smart Shop Floor not only helping to increase the efficiency, but also improving sustainability in my production? Well, everybody is talking about sustainability. Everybody is trying to make this one of the main pillars of a company, of a production's point of view. But so far I have really difficulties in understanding how a software like Smart Shop Floor can support mm-hmm. becoming more sustainable. Can you explain this?
Just imagine what I just said. It's you are observing your bottlenecks, or find out your bottlenecks. Mm-hmm. You have transparency on your values existing at your machine. You see the daily production values, production counter values, for example. All of that gives you, on all the different aspects at the machine, gives you a good idea how to improve production and production efficiency. And for that, you can use the machine much more better So for that reason, you will have a higher production output. And by having a higher production output, you certainly have a more sustainable production.
Okay, that makes it more clear. So summarizing this means making the most of my equipment by having the best efficiency also means that I'm harming all the environment less than just doing a little bit or smaller numbers. As the head of production, I can also I can assess the efficiency and also improve the sustainability of my machine. But I have more than one machine. And if I found the correct dashboard, if I found the perfect widgets, exactly delivering what I like to see on the screen, what I need to see on the screen, do I have to repeat this for a second, for a third, for a fourth machine? Or is there any function, any little gimmick allowing me to overcome this extra work by just maybe copying something like this?
You can create the so-called templates.
Okay.
And with these templates, you will be able to copy your dashboards. Or creating first new dashboards and copying these dashboards to other accounts. So that means since you have created a dashboard, filled this with sense of different widgets, with a logic behind it, you will be able to copy that dashboard to another account and using the same configuration with for the same machines or for different machines. You even have the possibility to use on one dashboard different widgets with your different machines. So setting up one dashboard and you have a full overview about your whole production site. Maybe you have 3 machines. You can put all these 3 machines close to each other and compare these values.
So also here you were explaining to me how it works. In the background we were seeing how it actually is executed. It was again just a number of clicks, also following the same logic. So from this, well, I would say it's intuitive to run those execution tasks, and that gives me a good feeling as the head of production, basically. At this point, again, our little request to you, dear participants, we are waiting for further questions. We like to fill that question and answer session with as many as possible questions in order to provide, although being digital, a very vivid and non-digital interaction with you. So go ahead, make further use of the chat function. And Björn and I, we are now shifting to a third perspective. We've covered the floor, we've covered a little bit higher level or perspective, and now we are looking at the company as such. We are looking at the company as being either the managing director and or the owner of the company. So as a managing director, I can imagine that my time is very limited. I don't have that much time to figure out all the important data. I need it like this. I need it immediately and I need it everywhere. Is there any chance to have access to the data at any time and at any place?
The machine today delivers roughly between 2,000 and 3,000 variables, and all of these variables can be looked at.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that a lot of different values will not be for interesting of a general manager, because we have a lot of pressures, material temperatures, takt times and so on. But we also deliver pretty much a lot of values which are surely interesting for a general manager, which says about all the efficiency values, for example, the utilization of the machine, for example, the production during the shift, the production over the weeks of the machine, where the machine has breakdowns, where the machine performed very well, where breaks have been made during the production, and so on and so on. So as a possibility for a general manager, you have certainly the possibility to create your own dashboard, putting the really important values onto this dashboard using just maybe number widgets and have a very quick overview about what's going on at that very moment. And as you said, if this is accessible from everywhere, yes, it is, as long as you have an internet connection and you have also a smartphone, a tablet, or you have a laptop or a PC very close to you. You can log in with your credentials, and then immediately you have access to that machines. And to these machines, they not have to be in the same on the same site. They can be placed on different continents or different countries, but you can connect them in the smart shop floor in one dashboard.
Okay, well, that's impressive. It sounds very versatile. It sounds very practical in everyday operations. When we are now looking at the dashboard in the back, as a managing director, I might need that extra KPI figure that is not yet included in this dashboard. Is it easy to edit?
Yeah, again, it is definitely, because just we have this small edit button here. You click this, edit, add your widget, and then you need just to select what kind of widget you want to see or you want to see. In this case, probably we are going for a line chart. We want to see a line values, and I give them a unique name, which makes sense. Looking for the variable I want to observe, looking for the machine I want to use for this variable, and save it, and that's it. So you instantly have access to that data. Again, with this time picker function, you can even have a very historic view on these data up to 2 years in the past. Wow. And up to for as a real-time value.
Okay, so this time your explanation was even faster than clicking, but we added some more names, some more descriptions, and the overall idea still is that this adding of widget is a very easy task and very intuitive task. So, well, we maybe summarizing the 3 perspectives that we've been talking about right now. Smart Shop Floor is a handy tool. It is easy to operate. It gives me maximum transparency and maximum insight. And all this we covered under the name of MDA, Machine Data Acquisition. While we are going ahead in this webinar, you are now having the chance to participate in a small survey. And with this small survey, we like to have your input when it comes to developing further and additional modules to Smart Shop Floor. This means so far we have MDA, which we will have an overview and a summary about in a few minutes. We have a second module called MMS, which stands for Machine Maintenance System, digitizing your daily, your weekly, your regular maintenance works. Also digitizing up to a certain extent the lovely bunch of papers we as DESMA delivering with the machines. But we like to look forward. We like to look into the future, and when it comes to developing software, we need to develop something that you actually need. MDA is delivering the basis, but we like to learn from you which modules you are expecting, you think are beneficiary for your future and for your further production. One thing we need to say at this point, if you're now selecting maybe an energy monitoring tool, don't expect us to have completed this before Christmas. We love to hand out Christmas presents. However, the development speed, especially when it comes to complex software functions, is not as fast as a DESMA machine cycle time. So from this point of view, we like to have your input. We will consider your input. And of course, it will be realized in a module, in a further functionality for Smart Shop Floor, but don't expect us to do it immediately and until tomorrow. Well, Björn, we have talked about Smart Shop Floor MDA, and for me it appears that this is a really great tool to monitor, to visualize my machine's data. But can you do us, most likely the participants and me, a favor and summarize what the module MDA really stands for and how Smart Shop Floor also operates as regards the data transfer, because the data needs to come from somewhere to somewhere and then back to somewhere.
MDA stands for Machine Data Acquisition. So this means it's a bunch of collection of all variables we selected, which we think makes sense to being observed, to being saved, to being analyzed. And these data is sent by the machine via this gateway we see here on front of this table to our server, which will be hosted here at DESMA headquarters. And we are saving this data, as said, for 2 years in the premium version. And by saying that premium version, we're starting with the basic version. We're having a basic version which is fixed by us. We selected roughly 20 different variables. We created 4 different dashboards and put in widgets for our customers. And this is fixed for one machine and for one account.
Okay.
But then can be used as a basic version with a different price model, but also we are offering certainly this premium version.
Okay.
And this premium version is for more accounts and certainly comes with all the accessible variables we provide from the machine. You have the free access to for the flexible positioning of the widgets, to creating new dashboards, to share these dashboards to these different accounts, connecting different machines to it, and so on and so on.
So to speak, Premium is the full version with fullest flexibility, fullest transparency, full usage of all available variables.
Right.
And Basic is more, I don't call it a beginner version, but a really limited version for just those variables where we at DESMA thought it makes sense to have them in there, right?
I would say so, yes.
Okay.
Basic is a really nice start, I would say so. Because it's you will have very shortly a very nice feeling what's possible by using smart data coming out of the DESMA machine. And by knowing what could be done more, actually, I'm pretty sure you will favor up with the premium version by doing this to your own needs and to your own favors.
Okay. One question that I'm just spontaneously coming across. If I chosen Basic, can I upgrade to Premium?
Yeah, very shortly, just give us a call, an email, and we make it happen. So it can be opened, definitely, vice versa for sure. But also, yes, we just tick the box and you have free access to the premium version.
Okay. Björn, we've learned that Smart Shop Floor MDA is a cloud-based application. And in a minute, we will be looking at the data connection. Can you just let us know what it is all about with the cloud application and whether there is, in case that my company is not 100% convinced of a cloud application, whether there's any alternative?
Yeah, for the moment, as said, we are hosting the data here at DESMA headquarters in Aachen, Germany. So this is safe and secure stored for these 2 years. And so the machine are delivering via this gateway the data, which can be then accessed worldwide by having just an internet connection and, for example, a smartphone.
Okay.
And by saying the cloud version, it says you have always the newest version of the Smart Shop Floor accessible.
Yeah.
You are, let's say, have the comfort of the upgrades we are delivering from time to time, and you have also the technical support we can give then to you, which you probably don't have if you have the local version, which will be available very soon. So we have a Smart Shop Floor local version available in a very short time period.
Okay, cool.
But this local version is then installed directly at the machine on an extra device, which gives you then an overview, the same functionalities, but gives you just the overview about the machine locally, and you won't have access from outside.
Talking about this extra device, this is this lovely little thing standing in the middle, the Desma gateway, which most of the machines or most of the younger machines do have installed already. So that device basically sits here at the Desma machine and then transfers the data through the proxy to our server, which literally is behind the wall that we are standing in front of.
Yep.
So that is the gateway, and that is also the place ensuring that there's a safe connection between the server and the machine, right?
Correct.
Okay, super, cool. Well, I guess that during the webinar we have received some questions, and while this whole setup is a fully digital one, the only analog thing is that we were in the meantime printing your questions. And now I'm being handed over the list of questions. And well, Björn, let's start a Q&A session. If there is more questions coming, maybe also questions because of our answers coming up, feel free to make further use of the chat function, because then we can take them up. In case that we can't answer all the questions, we will answer them case by case, if there's any need to do so. So Björn, a first question is, my machine operates at a certain cycle time, and the cycle creates new values. Every cycle creates new values. How often is changed data, how often are changed variables transferred from the machine through the gateway into the server and then displayed in the software?
Yeah, just we not to overwhelming the bandwidth, let's say, in the internet connection. We just decided to have a strategy sending the variables to the smart shop floor application, and so this means we are not sending always the 2,000 or 3,000 variables here to the application.
Yeah.
We are just sending the data which has been changed during the last time we have looked on it. So by saying that, we are having every 5 seconds a snapshot of the actual status of that machine, looking through all these variables, see which variables have been changed, and these variables will then be sent to the smart shop floor application. All the other values which haven't been changed, there's no sense to send them again because there's no change.
Okay.
So that means only the values which have been changed will be sent here.
Another question that I see on the list is basically focusing on the operator of the machine. And the question says, or is asking for, can I set up my operator to only see certain values?
Absolutely. It's for the operators, as said, we have the free degree in the premium version. We have the free degree of designing the dashboards, designing the widgets, and determining which values have to be placed on the dashboards. And then the operator not necessarily has to have an account, so he can't log in, he just can consume the data. He can see what he should see.
That's the screen next to the machine, for example, right?
Could be a screen next to the machine, he or she, for sure. So that means that I can make my own decision what has to be displayed or not.
Okay, so the answer is simply yes.
Yeah.
It is freely configurable. Another question which is handed in by also giving a little bit example is pointing towards the direction, if there is certain cycle time at this moment, can I review the cycle time an hour ago or 2 hours ago? And can I also review maybe the reasons why the cycle time was this and not that? So is there any historic function and historic data saving, or it's just live?
No, the data, as said, will be saved in the premium version for 2 years. Okay. So you always have access to that data, and as said, everything what has been changed is also saved. So you will have a view on that. The MDA doesn't give you an overview about why it has been changed. Okay. So this information is inside the machine. You need to do your own work at that very moment.
Yes.
To find out maybe the reasons, except the exceeded cycle times.
There is a question whether our customers can add every machine. We saw this on a slide earlier, that there was some little stars in the remarks, but maybe you can give us an idea of which machines can be added and what is essentially needed to add a machine.
We have to have a certain version of control and software inside that machine, and I think it's, if I'm correct, 2016, around that.
Yeah, this
year.
is what I also, yes.
Then it starts that you have the possibility. Still we have, for the existing machines outside, still we have to judge if this is possible or not, because we can't say this for every machine. So, but if you have the question in your mind, is my machine probably a candidate for the smart shop floor? Starting from 2016, there's a good chance, but give us a call or give us an email and we will check it for you.
Basically, the smart shop floor requires this updated gateway. The older machines do not necessarily have this gateway. All the younger machines do have it.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the time when the machine was built, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. A further question is whether it is possible to get the consumption of PU material injected, displayed.
We do know the times which have been injected, the injection time.
Okay.
From that on, if the machine is calculated, we are only displaying the values which are coming from the machine. So there are few machines which are also giving us that values.
Okay.
So we have to look in detail if we find out that specific data of the consumption of the material.
Yeah.
But certainly we know the injection times, we know the filling levels, and we know also the articles which have been on the machine at that very moment. So there's also a chance maybe to have a calculation on its own. But we know also the entered grams, let's say article weights.
Okay.
Yeah, so this data is provided by the machine.
Okay. There's two further questions, basically, I think aiming in the same direction. And the first one is whether the smart shop floor offers a production planning tool. And the second is whether the data from the machine can be integrated in another system. Maybe, for example, a production planning tool. And whether for this there is a web interface, like an API or something like this.
Very interesting, not yet. So we don't know, we don't have at the moment interfaces outside, let's say, from the machine to the application. But there's a high chance that we have very soon different interface connections to the smart shop floor. Would also be a nice, maybe a nice personal talk to the participant who wrote that. What you specifically have in your mind.
Yeah.
If it's a production planning system, that makes sense in our our view as well, but not yet.
Okay. Before we're ending the Q&A session, I do have two questions here on the list. The first one is whether there can be installed a separate monitor displaying the indicators given by smart shop floor, not at the machine, not at the production facility, but maybe in the office.
Yeah.
Good. A simple question requires a simple answer.
Wherever you have access to the internet and have a device which gives you that access, PC, laptop,
smart TV,
tablet, smart TV, most likely it comes up to the browser. So this is a technology. But if you connect the smart TV to a small PC, then yes, you can have access to that everywhere.
That's cool. The last question, I'm not asking you because I will answer on my own. 2 or 3 participants asked for a cost indication on the software, on the different versions, basic on the one hand, premium on the other hand. As also done in the previous webinars, those questions we are absolutely happy to answer, but we like to answer them either in a personal private discussion or in an email exchange. So please wait for our feedback by email, which is either coming today or today, tomorrow, or maybe latest on Monday. but we are happy to also discuss this with you, and your area sales manager will be happy to discuss this with you. Of course, there is a price for this software, for the different versions of the software. However, you will be surprised that it is not that high. Having said this, and looking at the time and looking at the schedule, Björn, I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you for giving us this deep insight. Thank you for joining and for this very interesting exchange with you.
Pleasure on my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, having reached this point in our today's schedule, I like to just briefly summarize what we have heard about smart shop floor, about the machine data acquisition module. For this, in the background, you can see now a slide which is offering you some added value propositions. And this value propositions mainly and basically deal with that smart shop floor is giving you a visualization of the data your machine is creating anyhow. So the machine creates data, smart shop floor is the perfect tool to visualize, to monitor, to analyze the data. And it is an application that allows you to do all this with different user functionalities at different places via different devices. Further, smart shop floor enables you to identify bottlenecks. Data-driven, based on data evidence, you learn where there is a bottleneck. For example, remember the cycle times and the exceeded cycle times we've been talking earlier about. The analysis of such bottlenecks is possible through smart shop floor. You as the operator now combining data, your gut feeling and your experience together in measures are the ones solving those bottlenecks. And then again, smart shop floor is the tool to show you whether the solutions, whether the measures taken are really contributing to an efficiency. So smart shop floor also allows you whether modifications are successful, whether they contribute to a more proficient production. And smart shop floor is a first digital tool that helps you to create a certain slightly higher value of sustainability in your production. You have a limited production time. The machine unfortunately also offers a limited operational speed. But by optimizing all the processes in and around this production, you can create the maximum output and also making of a certain amount the maximum outcome is in a way contributing to sustainability. This applies for mold changes in time. This applies for preheating of molds. This applies for maybe reducing the number of color changes and measuring whether this has directly on the cycle time and indirectly on the material consumption an effect that allows you to more sustainable manufacture. We have been talking about which machines are possibly connected and possibly offering data visualized through the smart shop floor. And as a summary, we also like to say that machines built 2016 and yesterday or between today and 2016 are most likely easily connected to smart shop floor. Machines being a little bit older, not being the youngest anymore, are not necessarily not able to be connected. But in those cases, we need to check case by case whether the software, whether the control and whether the gateway is offering the correct performance in order to transfer your data to the server. A last point that I like to focus on is how do we set up the smart shop floor and how easy it is. Smart shop floor is a cloud-based tool. We need to have a connection to your machine. This is established via the gateway and a secured VPN connection. Our teleservice guys do need to access your machine for roughly 15 minutes. They do some minor modifications to the visualization and the machine control. And in parallel, Björn and the team dealing with Smart Shop Floor are setting up your user account. Your user account basically runs with your email address and with a password, which is sent by email. After logging in for the first time, please change the password because it's just an initial password. And from that moment, you have, just for you as a company, as a customer, your data that you can access on. The Smart Shop Floor license runs per every machine. So if you're having more machines, you have more licenses and you have more data sources, more alarm sources. And based on that, you are then creating your dashboards, you are then creating your widgets. When it comes to delivering the software, we are not giving you the blank software with no dashboards, with no widgets. We are delivering the software with a certain set of dashboards. In any case, the scope of the SSF basic module is included, and then you can add on your own dashboards in case of having chosen for premium. So you're not starting with a blank field, you're starting with a working system that you can draw first conclusions immediately after logging in for the first time from. And by doing so, you can start, well, having your benefits out of Smart Shop Floor. At this point, and now looking at the clock and happily recognizing that the time management was quite okay, I like to say thank you very much. Before really saying goodbye to you, we like to emphasize and underline that, as usual, you will on next Monday receive an email with a fact sheet attached. This fact sheet, of course, contains the most important information on Smart Shop Floor. And that email also contains a link for the recording of today's session. So for those colleagues, for those stakeholders within your companies who weren't able to join today, please forward this email. Please answer to this email in case you have any further questions. And yeah, if you are interested in further following up, either as regards a purchased license or a test license, which is also available for the software and which allows you to give or to receive a 3-month insight in how the software works, feel free to contact us. Either answer to this email or send an email to your area sales manager. All the recipients within DESMA will be happy to serve you. And yeah, we look forward to welcome you also on Smart Shop Floor. So at this point, thank you very much. Thank you for participating. Thank you for sending your questions. And thank you for your very great contribution to today's session. The last wordings, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and see you soon.